Okay, Mayor and members of the council, the meeting is now being live streamed, and for the record, Mayor Pro Tem De La Rosa joined the meeting at 5:25 p.m.
Thank you so much for that, City Clerk. The meeting will now reconvene at 6:20 p.m. City Attorney, please provide the closed session report.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. The City Council is now back in open session, having met in closed session to discuss the two items listed on the agenda. Staff provided a report for both items, but no reportable action was taken. This concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you for that, City Attorney. If there's no objection by the City Council, I will adjourn the closed session meeting at 6:20 p.m. and call to order the regular City Council and Successor Agency Committee Community Development Commission meeting at 6:21 p.m. The members of the public may view and listen to the meeting live online through the city's website as noted on the agenda. If any members of the council should have a conflict of interest, please announce any item you're recusing yourself from prior to the item being heard. Tonight's invocation will be given by Minister Daniel, and the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by our very own captain.
Good evening, everyone, and we can stand to our feet as we come before God. Heavenly Father God, I just thank you for allowing us to be here, for giving us this wonderful opportunity to just awaken and see a new day. Father, Lord, I pray for the program that is set for this night, and I pray that you bless the work of the hands of our leaders, Lord God, and the sacrifice they make to keep this a wonderful city. Lord, above all things, I pray that your will be done and that we may seek to do your will through the obedience of your word, as if we can accomplish this, God, you will provide us, Lord Jesus, with that prosperous and successful outcome to every program, to every plan that's in place for this wonderful city. And I also pray for the men and women, Father God, that protect us, that bring, Lord Jesus, peace, Father God, and tranquility to this city, Lord. I pray for that you may keep them, protect them, and bring them back home safely, Lord. In the name of Jesus, I pray this. Amen.
Place your right hand over your heart. Face the flag. Ready?
Thank you so much for that. City Clerk, please call the City Council Successor Agency.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Members of the council and successor agency, Barsana. Councilwoman Guillen.
Present.
Councilwoman Sanchez.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem De La Rosa.
Present.
And Mayor Chavez.
Present. Thank you for that. We will move on to the presentation. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor Chavez. The first item we have tonight is the certificate of recognition for El Pollito Panaderia. I'll turn it back over to you, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you for that. If the representatives are here, las representantes de El Pollito, si están presentes, Eva y Norma, si pueden venir al frente, por favor. So I'm pretty sure all of us here on the council are familiar with El Pollito Panadería, that has been in the city for many years. Y pues primeramente les quiero dar gracias por estar aquí presentes para representar El Pollito y quiero leer el certificado. City of Bell Gardens Certificate of Recognition honoring El Pollito Panadería. The Bell Garden City Council is honored to recognize El Pollito Panadería for 47 years of dedicated service and outstanding success. Your warm, authentic, delicious baked goods evoke comfort and nostalgia. Your bakery is a cherished staple in our community. We extend our heartfelt congratulations and wish you continued success and prosperity for many years to come. Signed, Jorge Chavez, Mayor, along with the Bell Garden City Council, this August 25th, 2025. If you can, si Norma y Eva se pueden presentar, por favor.
Mi nombre es Eva Torres. Mi nombre es Norma Herrera.
¿Y quiénes son? ¿De dónde vienen?
Yes. Who are you? Where are you from? I've been working at El Pollito 13 years, and we're really like family.
El Pollito has been around for about 40 years. I've been working there 12 years.
Yo llevo ahí 12 años trabajando y es un placer trabajar ahí. La señora la dueña, no sé si ustedes la conozcan, si han estado ahí, es una señora muy amable, nos trata como familia y
El Pollito exists in Bell Gardens. I've been living here in Bell Gardens since I was 11. I'm almost 50. So I've been around Bell Gardens for my whole life.
Well, thank you so much. Gracias las dos por estar aquí. Thank you for coming. Obviously, I know the owner, Alicia. No, obviously she's not here, but I did want to read a little bit about Alicia and her story. So, la dueña es Alicia Perez, and Alicia came to this country in 1951, immigrating from Guadalajara, Jalisco, where she then worked with with her aunt at a bakery in East Los Angeles here when she moved here. And her whole family has been bakers. They've been in, baking in various times, and that's where her background is. Her and her husband worked hard up until 1978 when they finally opened and purchased the business of El Pollito Panaderia here in Bell Gardens. And at the end, the information that she wanted to share was that she's passionate and she is happy to be able to share that bread with all of the community here in the city. So I want to thank you, Norma and Eva, for being here, for representing El Pollito, and please also, we're going to provide this, but share those words with Alicia as well. I want to open it up to my colleagues if anybody wants to make a comment and just your own experiences with El Pollito, which, by the way, opens at 4 a.m.
Yes,
Right.
we have to be there at 4 o'clock.
Yeah. So I have a couple more questions to both of you because obviously you work this and you're there. But before that, I want to open it up to my colleagues.
I'm a lifelong member of Bell Gardens as well, so are my parents. And I think anybody that lives in Bell Gardens knows El Pollito, and they know Doña Alicia. When you walk in, she greets you all the time, and is always willing to help the community. And the fact that she's her bakery and she's been around for so long, we appreciate it here in Bell Gardens. So thank you so much. And also having wonderful customer service, coming from you guys and just making it feel like family when you walk in. So thank you. Yeah.
Solo quiero agradecerles por ser parte de la comunidad aquí en la ciudad de Bell Gardens. Hay muchos negocios, ustedes saben que hay McDonald's, KFC y cosas en unos lugares muy grandes, pero ustedes son algo más especial. Ustedes son algo que queremos mantener vivo en nuestra comunidad. Estoy pensando en memorias que tuve yo de ir al Pollito Bakery. Y una vez después de hacer servicio a la comunidad en grupo, limpiando la ciudad, todos fuimos en grupo al Pollito Bakery y pues eso queda bien grabado porque cuando uno entra por las cortinas de plástico y luego ve todos los adornos, la virgencita y todo, eso es único y espero que se mantenga aquí en la ciudad de Bell Gardens por muchos años y décadas, porque cada vez más y más negocios como el de ustedes son más raros, son como una joya que tenemos que mantener viva en nuestra comunidad. Así que cuenten con mi apoyo siempre para lo que necesiten y estoy seguro que también los concejales aquí se sienten igual de esa manera. Gracias.
Norma, Eva, felicidades. Gracias por servir a nuestra comunidad. Am, También literalmente, da con un panecito, ¿no? Les tengo una pregunta de toda la variedad de panes que hay. ¿Cuál es el favorito y cuáles nos recomiendan a todos?
Y
El,
Riel, se llama Riel, que lleva queso y guayaba, relleno de queso y guayaba. Y el croissant, que es el cuernito de mantequilla.
Pero todos
Todos
están
son
buenos.
buenos.
todos están buenos. Muchas gracias y felicidades.
Gracias.
Gracias por aportar y ser parte de nuestra comunidad, por venir y representar a la señora Alicia. Les voy a compartir, pues recientemente perdí a mi papá, pero recuerdo el próximo día, pues recibí mucha comida, pero la primera bocado que comí fue un tamal de ustedes y un panecito, y eso me alegró mucho, entonces gracias.
Y de nuevo, les agradezco de todo corazón que hayan venido a presentarse yo cada junta tenemos un negocio, me gusta tratar de dar el reconocimiento y de tanto tiempo mi mamá me dijo, no, pues ¿cuándo le vas a dar el pollito? ¿Cuándo le vas a dar el pollito? Y dije, me dijo ayer, me preguntó cómo te va a ir a la junta hoy, y pues les dije, ahora sí ya va a estar el pollito presente. Y luego lo que me dice, pues van a traer muestras también para todos. Am, ¿Verdad? Para la siguiente, para la siguiente.
Eso.
Sí, yo sé yo sé que a nuestros oficiales les gusta mucho el pan. So, de nuevo, ahí para la siguiente. Y pues con eso, de nuevo les agradezco de todo corazón. Quiero que sepan que aquí el concilio está para servirles de lo que ocupen. Una cosa que dijo el concejal Bárcena, que la verdad sí es muy importante, que no quiero que se vaya, no nomás de esa conversación, pero en general es de que hay muchos jóvenes que están creciendo en esta ciudad y a lo mejor se van a otras áreas, se van a otra comunidad, se van al West Side, se van al Valle o lo que sea, a otras comunidades, o se van a Orange County. Y muchas veces la idea de ir a la panadería no está disponible cercana, ¿verdad? Es una parte de la cultura que tenemos aquí en Bell Gardens. Yo considero ustedes un segmento muy, muy importante que trae la cultura, que trae la diversidad de ser latino, de ser mexicano presente aquí en esta comunidad. Igual como los eloteros, igual como los que venden fruta, igual como todos los vendedores, ustedes son parte de esa cultura y quiero que sepan que nosotros agradecemos lo que ustedes están contribuyendo, igualmente que están inspirando a otros negocios que salgan. ¿Verdad? Un buen ejemplo sería la panadería Golosa, que también acaba de abrir, que no tiene mucho tiempo, ¿verdad? Allí en La Clara y la Ira. So, de nuevo, yo creciendo siempre miraba ese sitio que no sabía qué estaba pasando allí. Y la otra panadería que yo vengo en mente será la de Super A Foods, que está ahí también cerquitas. So, de nuevo, les agradezco, le agradezco a doña Alicia por todos los 47 años y espero que muchos más. Pero les agradezco de nuevo de todo corazón que están aquí presentes.
Sí, doña Alicia dijo que me asegurara de decirles gracias por tomarla en cuenta. ¿Ok?
Muy bien, pues
Gracias. Y son bienvenidos cuando gusten.
ya dijo, pues.
A las tortas.
Sí, sí, sí. Para los días festivos que vienen del año, siempre hacemos algo para los empleados, igualmente para a las personas los senior centers también. Nos aseguramos de poder encargar y también obviamente para todos los departamentos y nuestros oficiales que van a hacer sus convivios. Para seguir haciendo nuevas aventuras con todos.
Son
Gracias.
bienvenidos cuando gusten.
Gracias. Bueno, pues aquí tomamos una foto. Gracias.
Next item is a proclamation to recognize National Preparedness Month, and I will turn it over to Councilmember Dr. Francis Sanchez de Leon. Thank you.
Thank you. A proclamation in honor of National Preparedness Month, whereas National Preparedness Month is in observance each September to raise awareness about the importance of preparing for disasters and emergencies that could happen at any time. And whereas in 2021 FEMA Ready campaign and the Ad Council broke ground by producing the first ever national preparedness campaign specifically targeting the Latino community for National Preparedness Month, released during Hispanic Heritage Month. The advertisement centered around the Latino community's commitment to personal planning for occasions and family milestones as a bridge to also plan for disasters. And whereas getting prepared can be seen overwhelming, however, it is relatively easy to do once you break it down into smaller and more manageable activities, tackling one task each day throughout the month. And whereas this National Preparedness Month, may we honor all of our first responders who run towards disasters at moment's notice. Now, therefore, it be resolved that Jorge Chavez, Mayor of the City of Bell Gardens, with the City Council, do hereby proclaim the month of September 2025 as National Preparedness Month and encourage all residents of Bell Gardens to prepare an emergency supply kit, a family emergency plan, and educate themselves about the potential disasters that could happen at any time. Proclaimed this 25th of August, 2025, signed by the mayor and city council. And here it is.
Thank you for that, Ms. City Manager. Next presentation.
Thanks again, Mayor Chavez. The next item is a proclamation honoring Deaf Awareness Month, and I will turn it over to Councilwoman Isabel Guillen. Thank you, Mayor.
A proclamation in honor of Deaf Awareness Month. Whereas Deaf Awareness Week was first celebrated by the World Federation of the Deaf in 1958. This event is also known as International Week of the Deaf, commemorating the first Congress of the World Federation of the Deaf, which took place in September 1951. And whereas the deaf population includes a wide range of individuals, from those who were born profoundly deaf and use American Sign Language as a primary means of communication, to those with a degree of hearing loss who use hearing aids or other forms of amplifications and communication modes. And whereas the city of Bell Gardens benefits from the many contributions of deaf, blind, and hard of hearing residents throughout the city and the state of California. And whereas people who identify as deaf belong to a cultural and linguistic community with shared language, social norms, rules of behavior, and history. And whereas we are enriched by the diverse and unique heritage, language, and culture of the deaf community. And whereas it is important to ensure that deaf, blind, and hard of hearing individuals have equal access to the many benefits and opportunities available to hearing individuals to live, work, play, and communicate in Bell Gardens. And whereas the purpose of Deaf Awareness Month is to increase public awareness of the issue and the culture of people who are deaf, and to promote equal access to information and services for deaf individuals, and to educate the public about the misconceptions of being deaf. It is also an opportunity to learn about the types of educational programs, support services, and resources available to deaf people, as well as to individuals who are deaf, blind, or hard of hearing. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Jorge Chavez, Mayor of the City of Bell Gardens, with the City Council, do hereby proclaim September 2025 as Deaf Awareness Month and encourage all citizens, businesses, public, and private agencies to join in observing the month in honoring of persons who are deaf, blind, and hard of hearing. Proclaim this 25th day of August 2025. And here it is.
Thank you so much, Mara. Thank you so much for that, Councilwoman Guillen. All right, we will now move on to public participation not listed for items not listed on the agenda. Public participation is now open. City Clerk, please announce the instructions.
Thank you, Mayor. Members of the public will now have an opportunity to speak on items not listed on the agenda. Please state your name for the record. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes, subject to an overall 30-minute period. Callers wishing to make a comment may do so at this time by dialing *9 from your phone, and when instructed, dial *6 to unmute yourself. Individuals joining through Zoom may request to make a comment by using the raise hand feature and select the unmute or microphone icon when instructed. We will first hear from speakers that are in person, and we did not receive any written communications.
I'd like to call up Jasmine Gonzalez.
Hi, good afternoon, council and staff. My name is Jasmine Gonzalez. I am with East Yard Communities for Environmental Justice. I'm a community stability organizer and have been since 2020. And so most of the work that we do has to do with is EJ work, environmental justice work. However, what is the point of trying to clean up our soil, air, and water if community is being displaced? So that is why we're also a part of the State House de LA. program. It's a countywide program. We support tenants and hold tenant workshops monthly and connect tenants experiencing evictions to attorneys. And so the reason this program came about is because attorneys in the area were noticing that tenants experiencing an eviction would come in with an attorney less than 10% of the time, while landlords would come in with an attorney over 90% of the time. And so this program is helpful to keep tenants in their homes because we've learned that oftentimes tenants are punished through no fault of their own. And so I'm really grateful that the council here and the city of Bell Gardens is sensitive to these things and is able to like push for policy to protect and help tenants stay in their homes. And so today I spoke with a tenant who is waiting to receive help from an attorney from State House LA for an eviction because of non-payment. And their court date is in early September. And so the reason that they are impacted is because of ICE, because their spouse relies on looking for work at Home Depots. And so this has slowed their income. And so I'm here just to remind staff and council to please bring a 60-day emergency moratorium forward. And if anyone has questions, if anyone on the council would want to learn more about this, please reach out and let me know. I'd be happy to let you know about the type of work we are doing. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Jasmine, City Clerk, is there anybody in the queue?
No, we have no one else who submitted a speaker card and no one else participating virtually.
All righty then. Thank you so much for that. If there's no objection by the members of the City Council successor agency, I will close public participation for non-agenda items and open public participation for agenda items. City Clerk?
Thank you, Mayor. Members of the public will now have an opportunity to speak on items listed on the agenda. Please state your name for the record before addressing your comments. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. We don't have anyone participating virtually or calling in, and I didn't receive any public comment cards or written communications.
Thank you for that, City Clerk. If there's no objection by the members, I will close public participation for on-agenda items. And moving on to item number 8. Does any member of the council have anything to report out from their external committees, if they had a meeting or anything at all? All right. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move right along to our city manager report.
Thanks again, Mayor Chavez. Just a reminder, on Wednesdays at 6 p.m., we have the open art studio that's available at Veterans Park. On Fridays, we always have the resident art and yard sale at Veterans Park from 11 a.m. to 3:30. On Friday, August 15th, we also had the free farmers market at the art and yard sale. Just reminding everybody, we had a yard sale weekend on August 16th and 17th. Monday, August 18th and Wednesday, August 20th, we had virtual immigration workshops. On Monday, August 18th, so last Monday, we had a special council meeting. The purpose of the special council meeting was for the city council to have a strategic planning workshop that was led by the consultants that are working on the strategic plan. All that information was gathered up, and the next steps are to put out the employee survey and also the resident stakeholder survey. We'd expect the employee survey to be out by the end of this week, and the resident stakeholder survey to be out into this week to early next week, with in-person follow-up with the consultants at the Fiestas Patrias event to help people fill out the survey that may not otherwise be aware of it, in addition to a future workshop as well. On August 19th, Manny and housing staff had met with advocacy groups, including one that was here represented as part of public comment regarding eviction issues, the existing ordinance, services, talked about what a moratorium might look like, and then also what happens when a moratorium ends and rent is due and things of that nature. So still working on that issue. So thank you to the staff and also to the housing advocates as well. On Wednesday, August 20th, we started opening cooling centers due to weather conditions. So it's been hot. Anytime it gets in the 90, 91 degree range with high humidity, we open up cooling centers, and we do get some people that come and take advantage of those. Also want to just acknowledge we did have a power outage. Edison had a power outage on Saturday night at around 11 p.m. Looked like it might go as late as 6 a.m., but I think power came back on in the 1:30 a.m. Time frame. It looked like it was related to equipment in Cudahy, but there were some significant issues with businesses there at Florence and Eastern that still had customers there. On Saturday, August 23rd, this one was planned. It was a financial literacy workshop on cybersecurity and fraud prevention. And then moving forward, tomorrow we have another virtual immigration workshop at 10 a.m. If you just go to our calendar, either use our app, Bell Gardens Connect, or just type in Bell Gardens calendar, click on Tuesday, and you'll see a QR code. You can RSVP or just see how to attend that event. Want to make sure everybody knows on Monday, September 1st, City Hall is closed for Labor Day. Labor Day is in recognition of unified labor and the work that they do within this country, and the day celebrates them. On Friday, September 5th, that's next Friday, the Art and Yard Sale will also include the free farmers market. So there's always a bonus there twice a month. And then I just always want to recognize on the consent calendar, there are a few items there. These would be of interest to residents, businesses, any stakeholder of Bell Gardens. So there's some green curbing. The intent there is to assist with parking flow and also traffic safety sightline on Eastern. We've also got on consent an MOU with Metro for transit reporting. That transit reporting results in about $85,000 worth of transportation funding. And then I think the one that is the most exciting is actually, before I go to that one, sorry, I'll go to less exciting, no offense, Bernie, is the purchase of a budgeted truck for Public Works. So this is to replace an older hybrid vehicle, and that truck was used for city facility and park maintenance projects. So that is exciting, but not as exciting as the next item. It's the purchase of fitness equipment for the new aquatic center fitness room. So that room will be filled up. It looks big when it's empty. I think everything's in there. It'll be a well-used room. As an example, 2 treadmills, 2 ellipticals, 1 stair climber, 1 recumbent bike, a recumbent stepper, and then multiple pull press machines, dumbbells, barbells, weights, and probably that rubbery smell of every other weight room on the planet. So with that, I'll thank you, Mayor.
Thank you for that incredible report. I'm calling it. I'm gonna be on that Stairmaster. 30 minutes, 45 minutes the first time. I'm gonna get on there, and we're gonna do level 6 minimum. I'm gonna hold myself. And then after, I'm gonna challenge the Mayor Pro Tem for a couple of push-ups. 100 push-ups, no breaks. 100 push-ups, no breaks.
Yeah, I mean, I could do them in sets probably, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We'll have a good time. I can't wait for that. That's gonna be fun. But yes. Okay. All right. I never said what kind of push-ups, everybody. See, there you go. I never said what kind of push-ups. Anybody else want to join? Marco, Francis, Stephanie? No? City clerk, maybe? I'm kidding, everybody. I'm kidding. But we're gonna have a good time. I mean, we're having a good time. You know, the council likes to be active and get out there, and anyways. Thank you for that report, City Manager. Appreciate that. Moving on to the next item, the consent calendar. Any member of the council wish to pull an item for separate discussion? All right, seeing none, is there a motion?
To approve.
All right, we have a motion by Councilman Barston, a second by Dr. Francis Leon Sanchez. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Ayes have it. All right, next item, 11.1, commissions appointment. Anybody want to add, change to the commissions? I know we think the last time we brought it, there was some changes or something. No? Okay. Moving on to the next item, 11.2, City Manager.
11.2, señor gerente municipal. Sí, gracias, alcalde Chávez. Esta es una conversación sobre reglamentos del ruido. Eso lo pidió la concejal Guillén sobre quejas por ruido. Normalmente tiene que ver con música, ya sea de fiestas o conciertos o conciertos sin permisos. Hablamos con la concejal, el jefe de policía, el capitán está aquí para dar información sobre lo que hacemos actualmente, darles un,
and then potential future items as well. So with that, I'll turn it over to Captain Barrios. Thank you, Mayor.
Can you hear me? All right. So as the city manager said, this presentation will be on the noise regulations. So just to give you a historical background, on June 22nd of 2009, City Council adopted ordinance 817 to address the following issues, mainly the complaint of loud music and or party disturbances. So in the past year, these calls have accounted for 3.5% of all calls for service. 10 of these calls were from the same location within a 24-hour period. And then these calls on average, because they happen mostly on the weekend. So on the weekend, that number spikes up to 6% of the total calls for service on the weekends. These calls are generated by the residents. BGMC section 16.24 010 and 16.24 340 under the chapter of 16.24 noise regulations. The Bell Gardens Municipal Code 16.24 addresses the loud music from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. Any complaints outside of that time frame is something that will require a resident to become involved in order for us to address the complaint. Without the aid of the resident, officers are not able to issue a citation. This is kind of a breakdown from August of 24 to August of 2025. In 6 months, we had 362 calls for music, 663 for the year. And just in comparison to the total amount of calls that we get in the 6-month period, it's 10,462. And then for the 1 year, it's almost 20,000 calls for service that we get. That's how we get the percentages on the previous slide. Historical background continued, 16.24, 16.25, and 1.16. Ordinance 817 added Chapter 25 of Title 16 of the Bell Gardens Municipal Code for the cost recovery for police services at large parties and enforcement. Describes the methods of handling these types of calls for service, provides officers with the ability to issue the notice of loud music / party violation. The ordinance describes the process on generating, issuing, and processing the notice of loud music / party violation form, which I'll show here in the next slide. The process of ordinance number 817, residents will get a warning on the first response to the loud music. A second call within the same 24-hour period will result in the issuance of a $75 citation. Any subsequent response in that same 24-hour period will result in another $75 citation for a max of $300 for that 24-hour period. Section 16.25.010, the collection and cost of the special police assignment. Copies of the paperwork forwarded to the finance department, and then all fees shall be collected within 30 days. Non-payment will result in the city filing a civil fine via the LA County Recorder's Office. There's a copy of the form here. As you see on top, the first call, like I stated, you just get basically a warning. You check off the box on top, you put the location, and then there's a section where you fill out the responsible party or the responsible person for that party. You fill it out, they sign it, the officer signs it, they date it, and it's just a warning at that time. Any calls after that, like a second or third or fourth notice, as it's stated here, it's just a checkoff box indicating that the officers had to respond for a second, third, or fourth call for service. So when talking about how we handle these calls or the infraction compared to the misdemeanor, BGMC 16.24.340 identifies the penalties for infractions It's the least serious of offenses. Infractions do not lead to any jail time, probation, or they don't create a criminal record. The punishment is just a fine. It avoids a court system, no judge, no possible probation, or from the court system. Chapter 1.16 addresses the administrative citations and penalties. This practice is known as administrative process for us, which is what the city currently follows. Now, there is a misdemeanor section in the Bell Gardens Municipal Code 1.12.010, subsection B. So this would describe the misdemeanor. A misdemeanor is more serious than an infraction. If you're charged with a misdemeanor, it will create a criminal record. Misdemeanors carry different punishments depending on the seriousness of the offense. Generally, misdemeanors carry up to 1 year of jail sentence as well as a fine. Because misdemeanors can result in jail time, you will see a judge. Misdemeanors create a formal court process to determine possibility of probation. But that just outlines the misdemeanor portion. As I stated, we handle these types of calls with the infractions or the administrative process. So how are these calls generated? The reporting party calls the dispatch. Dispatch goes ahead, they create a call for service, and they dispatch a minimum of 2 officers to the call. The officers determine if the violation is present or had occurred. Per the Bell Gardens Police Department form guidelines, the officer will fill out the form. The officers can also issue a citation, and the police department's record department will finalize the paperwork, and then they will forward it to the finance department. Now, here are some of the pitfalls with regards to the administrative process that I just described. Most Bell Gardens Police Department forms only reach the first level. So generally speaking, we don't really get that second call. Fines that reach the violation level usually are not collected. So that's another pitfall of that process. So the current infraction system does not really deter people from violating the section, which is why we're looking at alternatives and working with the city prosecutor for that. Only 2.5% of those music calls resulted in a second notice or a violation, if you will. Bell Gardens Municipal Code Chapter 16.24, noise regulations. This kind of just outlines what a general noise regulation is. So it talks about the locations, volumes, hours, and registration. Chapter focuses on radios, televisions, vehicles, hawkers and peddlers, drums, noise-making devices, schools, hospitals, churches, animals, machinery, construction equipment, amplified sounds. The general plan for noise element, the general plan focuses on noise-related issues that could impact residents in the community and establishes policies to try to mitigate noise. The element also includes an acoustical scale. It's kind of a chart to measure decibels, and as you see here in the next slide, what's the thresholds basically of what would be considered a threshold of pain, a lethal threshold of noise. So it's just a decibel chart to kind of help you guide us to what is acceptable and not acceptable. City Council and the Planning Commission resolutions approving entitlement projects also include conditions to properly regulate noise. These conditions might include days and times for all construction activities, mitigation measurements to avoid any potential noise impact to neighboring properties and businesses during their operating hours. That concludes the presentation, but I'll take any questions.
Thank you for that presentation, Captain. Does any member of the council have any questions or comments regarding this item?
Yeah, I have a question. You said that within a 24-hour period, there was 10 phone calls for one location. Was it one person that called 10 times, or was it multiple people that called?
So out of all the music calls listed, 10 of those calls, not in one location. Okay. So out of those calls within that 6-month period, only 10 of those resulted in a second call. Okay. So it's 10 for that 6-month period. It's 17 for the whole year. So out of all those music calls, only 17 for the whole year, the officers had to go back. Doesn't mean it was the same property.
Got it.
It was of all the music halls.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else have any questions or comments regarding this?
Mayor, if I can maybe add, as the captain mentioned, we're currently processing these as infractions with low monetary fine on them. We're working with our city prosecutor to look at that misdemeanor possibility. That would put the noise infractions more closely aligned with I'm sorry, not infractions. That would put them more in line with the same types of fines that are assessed on fireworks. They're I think fireworks start at $1,000 and go up to $4,000. But I think the police department has heard when they go out to calls, if it's $75, you may just come out, they may just continue playing the music because it's going to be $75. So and I know sometimes there's been a little bit of a criticism. Well, how many people have been fined $4,000? There is some value in a police officer, I think in talking with the chief, and I think him in talking with the captain. And, if an officer goes out on a call and somebody says, well, what happens if you come back out again? And you say, it'll be a $75 fine is different than if you say, it'll be a $1,000 misdemeanor. Whether you actually end up filing tens or hundreds of misdemeanors, there's still value to that, I think, to the officer on the street being able to honestly give that answer that is a potential consequence. So maybe instead of 17 return calls, you'd only have 10 or 11 because the threat of the misdemeanor may be more significant. So we're still working with the city prosecutor on that to potentially bring someone back to council that's stronger than just a $75 administrative fine to come out and write a citation.
Just to clarify, the $75 a processing fee. So that's the fee that the police department charges for processing. So that is also part of our fee study that's being conducted for the city right now. Those fees are currently from 2009, I believe. So that number will also, or should be going up with the fee study.
Yes. $75 is intended to just cover the cost of having to go out there a second time. Like with the fireworks with $1,000 or $4,000, it's meant to actually have a deterrent effect. So instead of just paying the $75, which was the cost to have an officer come out, the potential of $1,000 misdemeanor might be more of a deterrent because it's not just $75. If you've got a party with 60 people, if everybody throws in $1.25, you can cover the second call. If it's $1,000 in a misdemeanor, it may be a different story.
City manager, you're correct. So right now, the administrative process includes our finance department, where they haven't really been successful in collecting some of those funds. And like you said, $75 for a maximum of 300 it hasn't really been proven to be a deterrent. Whereas if we explored other options, maybe now we could include the court process, which would most likely or probably deter people to continue with the noise.
So just to be clear for the council, so that's something that we're still working on that would have to come back to the council for any type of future adoption. So really what we're doing is working with the city prosecutor just to see if existing municipal code allows such misdemeanor and $1,000 fine for noise. If it does not, then we would come back to council with some other options to adopt something similar to that as well.
In the section under the pitfalls of the current system, it states that, like you mentioned right now, the fines that reach the violation level usually are not collected. And is that more so because people are not, they just brush it under the carpet and just forget about it? Or, do we have a system where we follow up, to these violations?
Well, I got one example I'll give you. So let's say the officer goes out there, makes contact with one of the partygoers, but it's not necessarily anybody connected to that property. And they decide, hey, I'm the responsible for that evening. Well, there's no real way to track them down after. So if we attach the citation to the property, the owner or whoever the resident is could say, well, that wasn't me. And God knows where that person is now. And that's one of the reasons why they haven't been able to collect some of the fines.
Thank you.
How many fines have you guys done in the last year?
17.
Do you know how many fines you guys have done in more time than that, like 5 years or something?
I don't have those numbers with me today, but I could definitely provide those when we have future discussions.
Because if there's 17 fines in the last year, I'm just worried that we're escalating this. Talking about a misdemeanor, that's like someone that assaults another human being by slapping them in the face or, you know, taking a violent action against them. I'm all for, you know, allowing our people to have some rest so that they can go back to work the next day. Like, I've actually brought items like this to the council before. You guys remember that, right? But to be thinking and actively working on criminalizing our residents further, that just makes me a little panicky, honestly. I feel like, I mean, I don't know how long we've been working on this and thinking about like this misdemeanor charges for people just having like a quinceañera or like a baptism. But I just want to kind of ring the bell a little bit and say, is this really what we're spending our time doing as elected officials? But again, I don't mean to blow it out of proportion either. I appreciate that you guys are bringing it back, but 17 instances in a year sounds like it's not enough to really escalate things, in my opinion. But I appreciate everyone's work.
And Councilmember, I think, well, go ahead, Captain.
Well, so just to give you a little perspective, so the penal code section, there's a 415 penal code section, which is a disturbance, includes fighting and other things like that. There is a section that is a misdemeanor in the California Penal Code that would require a resident that is the complainant of that call to get involved and actually fill out a citizen's arrest form. And there is that in the penal code, but yeah, so that's why this is up for discussion. Yeah.
And I also wanted to ask, I know in the first slide or something, there was a bullet point there that said that you guys needed the involvement, I guess, to take action. Is that what you're referring to with the misdemeanor portion of it, or is it just in general?
That is in general, as well as the misdemeanor portion of it, because of the times. Anything outside of the time period of the Bell Gardens Municipal Code requires a different avenue to be able to address those issues.
Councilmember Barcena, just for the rest of the council, some of the exercise that's gone into reviewing this item, I think has been helpful. Kind of force us to dig into municipal code a little bit and talk with our city prosecutor to just understand some of this misdemeanor section that already exists within the municipal code and to see whether it even is applicable. And I think the way that we looked at this and the reason that we're bringing the councils to discuss it to see if that's even applicable. If it's not, you know, we would bring options that something. I think the goal here would be, and I use the fireworks as an example, where having the option to reference honestly the potential of a misdemeanor or a fine without actually, you know, citing somebody for it, there might be a benefit there as well. But I understand that the caution that the council would have to have, because if there is such a misdemeanor and a fine, the police department would have the authority to do the citation and issue the fine, and the person would have their appeal process and that. But at that point, the ship would have sailed a little bit to Councilmember Barcena's, you know, commentary there. So we will for sure determine with the city prosecutor whether that $1,000 misdemeanor, just so we know and so the council knows whether that could even be applied for noise complaints. The prosecutor's kind of gone back and forth a little bit on it. And then if it's not, the second part would be come back to see if the council wants to do anything different. And if it is applicable, we would come back to the council before there would be any intent to, you know, utilize that part of the municipal code. So really, it's been an exercise of understanding what is it we're doing currently, what do the stats look like, what other options are there. We started looking at these options before we really look at the stats either, though, just so we understand what's already there. The final comment I would just make is the chief had shared with me 2 stats on service calls for noise complaints. Over the last 12 months, I think they were in the 6,000 range for the last year. And I think during the COVID period, when people weren't able to congregate in, you know, nightclubs and concerts and things like that, I think the calls were up to around 9,000 per year back at that time. So they've come down a little bit from from that point. So we haven't spent an exhaustive amount of time, but really want to understand what's already there and is there any tools that we're not currently using. But before anything would be changed, we would come back to council.
Thank you for that, City Manager. Anybody else want to jump in on this discussion, which is a great discussion, by the way. I appreciate it. Okay. This is an interesting one because I remember when this was brought up to me at one of my town halls, residents, obviously I've been doing these bi-monthly town halls, and one of the residents had reached out and they spoke up in the middle of the town hall and they were just explaining sort of frustration that sometimes comes off, and they're trying to follow the right process of, hey, they've tried to engage with the resident or their neighbor and the neighbor's just not listening, or they just kind of let it go through from one year to the other year. And it's very frustrating. It's kind of one of those parking issues too, where it's like, let's all just try to be good neighbors amongst each other. And, let's not have to get it to this point. Right. To the city manager's point about fireworks, right? That's a common one that comes up every year. So I think it's a good discussion. I'm glad that the councilwoman brought it up. It was something that I know that the resident and I had talked about. But I mean, it's also interesting to see the facts that have come up before us. I mean, to the point where during COVID we had 9,000 calls, right? Like, people were at home, and I don't know what it was, but people were just taking it up a notch with the noise. So yeah, I can see both sides. Where on one point if you got to go to work the next day and you got to be up at 4 or 5 in the morning, and you have a neighbor that's already at 10 or 11 o'clock, and let's just say, I'll give my own example. My dad's a truck driver. My dad has something to do long haul trips. He has to be alert. He has to be looking at the road consistently. He has to leave the house sometimes at midnight or 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. Right. So he goes to bed around 6, 7 in the afternoon to try to get in those hours of sleep. Right. And I mean, my dad's a hard worker, and he's gonna go out and do his job. And but I can see how, if I'm his neighbor and I have my loud music and I'm not letting my own father sleep, I mean, I know it's frustrating. So it's just one of those where, I mean, it's really just comes down to the council and how much do we want to get involved with it, right? Personally, does it affect me on a day-to-day basis? It doesn't, right? In fact, I think there's been times where maybe I was the one that had the music a little bit loud, and overall, I'm also like, hey, my family and I will say like, it's already like 10:30 or 11 o'clock. We should probably lower it down. And I happen to live in a unit where there's 4 other neighbors within the same lot, so it's easier for us to that too. So, but yeah, I mean, I think it could go both ways, and yeah, I'll leave it at that, at least for my comments. And I know, to Councilman Barcena's point, I know he's engaged. I know you're, in the past you brought items, but the other one was a little bit different because it had dealt with like a business, right? Unlike just from neighbor to neighbor kind of thing. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I have brought up some issues with businesses in the past, but also a lot of complaints from like actual residents and parties and stuff like that. And I remember, a few years ago, when I brought this up, I want to make sure that you guys know that I'm not trying to minimize the issue, because I do believe quality of life issues like this one matter. So I'm not trying to minimize it, but I am trying to say, hey, like, let's try everything we can before we criminalize our residents farther. Because this is a real quality of life issue where like people work really, really hard. They need to be able to sleep at night. I think that that's reasonable. However, I am concerned about like just the escalation of going into a misdemeanor. Like, I want to see us try everything else before we even get to that point. So I want to encourage like maybe thinking outside the box a little bit. Maybe we can develop a different protocol to deal with these calls. Maybe we can even have a campaign where we're like actively encouraging residents to be respectful and thoughtful of their neighbors. That's what I would want to encourage before we even get there. But I don't want to minimize it. I have been there myself. In fact, when my dad was very, very sick, right before he passed away, we had some issues with noise complaints, and like I felt very powerless and helpless, even though I was a mayor at the time. you know. I couldn't get people to like decrease the volume and things like that. And so I totally understand where it's coming from, but I want to make sure we do everything we can before we go in this territory, because it just feels like it could have a very negative impact in the lives of our neighbors and residents.
I just want to reiterate that these were the discussion for today was meant to present the facts, and this isn't like this is where we're going, the avenue that we're headed. It's meant for a discussion and see where everyone is at, and we're totally open to any ideas. Again, these are the facts. This is where we're at. We're all open to pave the way wherever everyone is wanting to head. So open for
I guess thank you for that. Thank you for both of you. I like Councilmember Barcena's point. I would want to continue pursuing that route of try to see as much as we can do before we get to this point of making it a misdemeanor. And honestly, just with the times that we're living with, and with the government and folks going after our communities and stuff, I just feel like it's very delicate. I think to that point too, I don't think any of us on the dais want to be in these situations where we had to call the police because of our neighbor, or none of us want to engage with that. And I would hope that none of us are dealing with that at this moment, right? Because for the ones that have dealt with it, it's very frustrating. And to the Councilman Barcena's point, it's you feel powerless, right? So the ideal thing would be, okay, well, let's not approach a misdemeanor then. Well, what other thing can we do? Can we increase the fines, right? And let's say maybe, right now when they go and they're giving them a measly fine that's less than $100, it's not going to affect it. Let's just say we decide and we go around and we say, well, let's do $1,000 fine. And maybe that'll be a way of them to try to mitigate it'll be a sort of another tactic, a deterrence for Will. That's like, hey, now they're actually going to turn down the volume because they know that if they come back the second time, it'll be another $1,000 fine. The issue that we run into now is the sort of gap that there is of where, let's just say they do issue the warning, but then there is no follow through, or that person that you gave the warning to is no longer there. Or how do you even follow that path? It's sort of a two-sided thing, and it's very difficult to follow. So I could just imagine the officer's position too, when they report to the incident, and just in the nature of a party, and if you have a banda, or if you have whatever's going on, right? Folks sometimes are under the influence, and it's just an overall sort of difficult situation to assess in your position, I bet. I don't know if you can speak to that or share or any of that.
Yes, Mayor. I was going to say that the position of the department, we're looking to the council and the membership to come up with solutions, to address this issue. But we find ourselves in the same situations. We're very fortunate here in Southeast Los Angeles, all the surrounding agencies. We understand the community because most of the police departments are made up from members of that community. So when you talk about paying for a banda or for a party or a birthday party, a quinceañera, a lot of us understand what that is like, and the amount of money that it takes to have a celebration. On the flip side, like Councilmember Barcena said, we do have to consider the quality of life for certain people, because the music that doesn't bother me doesn't mean that it's not going to bother my neighbor. And our position. So our position is we're just looking for some guidance and some other alternatives to maybe deter or help minimize the second call for service, and then having the community work with each other. Like if I have a party, I may call my neighbors and invite them, but it doesn't always work out that way. So I think we're just looking for some guidance, and the stance of the police department is not necessarily to criminalize, is just to maybe find some other options to maybe find some deterrence for the second calls.
Yeah. Anybody else want to chime in? No.
I
Go
just
first.
want to echo the point you just mentioned, Mayor Chavez. I think adjusting the fee schedule is a stepping stone, in the right direction, before escalating it any further. And I think it also serves as an opportunity to also perhaps improve or fill in the gaps with the collections process as well. Having multiple follow-ups, to these individuals, or maybe tying it up to the location itself, rather than the person or the individual that's representing the event. I think that could fill in the gaps quite a bit. It might require a bit more work, having to go to the actual residence, the location, and following up. I think it'll show that we're very intentional with the municipal code. So with that said, how would we go about readjusting the fee schedule? I know City Attorney mentioned that there is a fee study in the process, but I just wanted to get a little bit more insight as to how that works and how the process flows.
So the fee study process, just basically you look at, document what is the cost to go out on a second call, to write the citation, to then follow up on the citation potentially with a collections notice. Based on the fact that the $75 number was justified in 2009, it would probably be about $150 today if we were to do another cost study. So that would just be part of a citywide cost study. Right now, we're doing a fee study for the Aquatic Center. We did do a fee study for the citywide back in around 2019 or 2020. But most of those fees were set aside at the moment. I think the council didn't want to adopt the fees. But it would probably be in the $150 range. So that's something we can look at again and bring back to council, along with, potential other fines, something like that.
I just wanted to clarify that, so that processing fee is not an actual fine, it's separate from, so currently, we don't have a fine. Like for fireworks, there's a fine here, this is just a processing fee for the police department's work.
Thank you so much for clarifying.
All right. Anybody else? All right. Seeing none, I'll give my last 2 cents on this. I want to piggyback off of Councilman Barcena's point. I think that it'd be great if the city, or if we take it amongst ourselves and be good citizens to each other, be good residents to each other, and let's allow us to just sort of engage and just try to keep the peace amongst ourselves as neighbors, right? At least at this moment. And it's difficult. Again, it's a two-side thing, but maybe if there could be some sort of, and in some countries, they're really good at it, about being good neighbors to each other. They'll like really go out to it. And I don't know if it's like a cultural society thing here in the States, but look out for one another. I know in some communities, when they're going to do parties and stuff, they usually go around and they'll let the neighbors know, hey, I'm going to have a big party. You might see an impact here or there. We're going to have the music turned up a little bit. So, but just want to give you the heads up. I think that goes a long way. And then maybe that's something that we're not doing here in the community. Usually if we were to go out to do that, probably the first thing the neighbor's going to ask, well, am I invited too? Right. So, that's sort of my take. I think that's how it should be processed. I think that amongst ourselves, let's take initiative, and just with the proper method that we have, to Councilmember Barcena's point, 17 calls last year, I think, right? Yeah, that's my take. Anybody else want to jump in? All right.
Mayor, if I just say one final thing, I think in the message you're saying about neighborly actions, and then I think even from the actions of the police department, the fact that it's about 2.5% that result in a second call means there's probably a combination of some residents that don't know that the quiet time's at 10 o'clock. So for 17, there's still 583 that the officers hopefully communicated it accurately. The resident received the information and did the right thing with it, and nobody called again on the noise complaint. So it's a pretty high success rate, I think, on the first call. It's probably the 17 or the other number that were still not compliant and people just gave up after the first call. There might be some of those, but I think at least it shows a high degree of compliance from the residents, and probably due to the actions of the police department as well in interacting with people.
Thank you for that, City Manager. All right, final take. Mayor Pro Tem, you're good? Councilwoman Guillen, Councilwoman Dr. Francilon Sanchez, Councilman President. All right, we're good. Is there a motion?
Motion to receive and file.
Second.
All right, a motion by Councilwoman Guillen, second by Mayor Pro Tem de la Rosa. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Ayes have it. All righty then. Moving on to the next item, I think is the final item. City Manager?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mayor Chavez. This is a follow-up item from a presentation that you saw from KDI and our Recreation Community Services Director, Liz Nava, at the last council meeting. The direction from the council was to bring a resolution that would authorize KDI to apply for some grant funds with some stipulations included in there as well. So with that, we'll turn it over to our Recreation Community Services Director. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. O'Kelly. Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. I have a brief item before you this evening, and this one was asked to be brought back today, and this is just a consideration of a resolution which authorizes KDI to apply for a grant from the RMC. So really quickly, you guys saw this information at the last meeting, but I'll just run through it really quickly. Back in August 21, KDI received a $200,000 grant from the RMC, which they used on a project to re-envision the golf course. And this money allowed them to survey members of the Bell Gardens community to develop a vision plan for the space that is currently the golf course. And they called this project Our Resilient Rio, a vision plan for the future of the Bell Gardens golf course. We'll just refer to it as vision plan. So here are just some pictures again of their outreach throughout the years. And from that outreach and the information they gathered from the survey, they were able to put together 3 draft vision plans. We brought those vision plans to council. Council had some comments, some changes were made, and then a final vision plan was approved back in March 24. And the direction at that time was given for KDI to pursue funding for vision plan design, but it did not include implementation of the vision plan. So just as a recap, these are the 3 designs that were originally created. And this was Parque del Sol is the plan that was voted on by council. So KDI came back to staff and let us know that the RMC has a grant, which is Prop 1 funding, called the River Parkways and Urban Streams for Lower Los Angeles River Grant. And KDI is seeking to apply for this grant, and if awarded, the grant would fund the design, the construction plans and specs, and at least 1 phase of construction for the vision plan. But the grant requires that a resolution from the City Council is given, which authorizes them to apply for this grant. So at this stage, it's simply authorization for grant application. If KDI is awarded the funding, staff will return to council and will discuss the vision plan, the design, the phases of implementation, and the details of the construction for council's oversight and input. There isn't any fiscal impact to the city. KDI is going out for this grant on their own. However, if future funding is potentially required, then we will determine that at a later date. And again, we would come back to council for approval. So staff recommendation is that City Council adopt the resolution authorizing KDI to apply for the RMC's Prop 1 River, Parkways, and Urban Streams for Lower Los Angeles River Grant. And that concludes my report. I do have Shalina here from KDI to also answer any questions that council might have.
Thank you for that, Director Nava. Does any member of the council have any questions or comments regarding this item? Councilwoman Francis and Dr. Francis de Leon Sanchez.
So this is just a resolution to give authorization to apply for the grant.
That is correct.
Once the grant is received, it will still come back to council, anything moving forward having to do with the golf course.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Great question. Anybody else have any questions or comments?
Going off that includes like any design and anything, right? Okay.
Yes, that's correct. So if the grant is awarded, KDI will have to go back out to the community and do some more workshops and develop a phased implementation plan. But we will come back to council with ideas, and council will determine what the phases are and how we want to implement it. So nothing will happen until we come back to council. So this right now is simply a resolution so that KDI can actually submit the grant, because without the resolution, they won't be able to submit the grant.
Anybody else have any questions or comments? All right. Seeing none. Is there a motion?
I'll move.
I'll second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Ayes have it. All right. Moving on to the final portion, the comments. Councilmember Barson.
Yes, thank you everyone for your efforts. This is one of the shorter meetings that we've had in the last few months. I appreciate everyone's patience. I appreciate the items that were brought. I think they're very relevant. I mean, when it's noise not relevant, I feel like it's an ongoing issue. Hopefully we find a solution that is comprehensive and it works out for everyone's advantage. Yes, I'm very excited about what's coming in the next few years, in the next few months. The Aquatic Center, I want to thank our directors for being on top of it. Thank you so much for bringing this to fruition, also to the city manager. And yeah, are we ready for the Fiestas Patrias or what?
I'm ready.
All right, you guys have a good night and thank you again.
I'll pass it over to Councilwoman Guillen.
Good night, everyone. That's it. And just honorary guest, Captain. Thank you so much for accompanying us tonight.
Thank you so much for that. Pass it over to Councilwoman Dr. Frances de Leon Sanchez.
I just want to thank the residents that have reached out to me the last 2 weeks on various issues. I'm here to serve my community and just to hear from you guys, knowing that we can have an open dialogue about different issues that have been arising, that have impacted you, whether we agree on those issues or not. You know, I'm here to serve you. I'm here to try to find different solutions. So I just want to tell the residents, thank you so much, and continue out to reaching out to me. And thank you to all the staff and my colleagues. Have a good night.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you to city staff for the continuous hard work. And also thank you to all my colleagues. Appreciate all the hard work. Thank you.
Right. For my comments, I just want to again reiterate the council's comments. Thank you so much for everybody and all the work that you are doing. You know, we've been getting a lot of community residents to Councilwoman Frances de Leon, Dr. Frances de Leon's point. A lot of folks are seeing the progress that our city's having, right? I love the continued time lapse of the aquatic center. A lot of interest on that. Right, we just opened the dog park not too long ago. Just a lot of stuff is happening. The citywide, improvement projects on the street, the residential streets. I already seen some of the stands already up there, and it's been so far everything is looking good. And just really appreciate the work the directors are doing. Everybody, our chief, our officers, city clerk, legal counsel, as well as city manager, and phenomenal job that he's doing. Final thing that I just want to add is El Pollito Bakery that was here at La Panaderia did mention something regarding to traffic and just the condition of their road. They mentioned they have that little right of way on Eastern, and they just were requesting to perhaps look to see if maybe we could do a traffic analysis on creating that into a green space, a green curb, because they have folks and it's very difficult. They close up their gate that usually use the dentist parking lot, but due to all the immigration raids that are happening, and literally one being right next door to them at the car wash, they've decided to close that because they don't want agents to park there, which has just created much more difficulty when it comes to parking for some of their customers. So they were requesting that right in front of their bakery. And then the final thing, it is something that I've worked on in the past, has been in regards to the 710 freeway. I don't know if anybody else hasn't noticed it, but I appreciate Caltrans' work when it came to addressing the right-of-way and entrance. as far as the street, but the issue seems to be coming up again about just the maintenance of the overall clover field. It's getting a little bit out of touch. So what I would say, if maybe we could reach out to Caltrans District 7 or the superintendent at Caltrans to just have them, do some maintenance out there and, maybe look at the street again, see how that's coming along. The shrubbery and just the overall landscape to take care of that, the maintenance, and then finally the tagging of some of the signage. And I would ask that they also do that on the casino side, not only on the northern side, but also on the southern side of all of the Clover Field, from particularly to the Bell Garden side, but also for if it's on the other side of Bell. If anybody else doesn't have any comments, that'll wrap up my comments. But again, thank you so much, everybody. And for once, we'll go ahead and end the meeting at 7:36 p.m. If there's no objection by the City Council, I will adjourn the City Council meeting successor agency at 7:36 p.m.